Let me just tell a stupid story, and then you can grab what you want out of it. Yeah, so like Umpqua's early beginnings on the North Umpqua really was two buddies tying flies production style. Like it was oftentimes a pile of materials, two vices, a boombox sitting in between them, and a cassette, and hitting play and seeing how many you could produce. This is Randall Kaufman on one side and Dennis Black on the other side. So it was tying all winter, steelhead fishing, driving them back east, delivering them, getting your payday, right? Spending your money as you go back to the West Coast and fishing the whole way back. And well, that's kind of a dream for a lot of people. The idea of doing it themselves kind of transitioned to like, well, what if we could have some of these flies produced? Like we know they sell, like we know how to do them. So like Dennis started working. It was another kind of one of those serendipitous moments where like he read an article about business opportunities in India, right? And like he was like, I'm gonna go chase it, and like hopped on a plane. Happen chance ran into Ken of Tiemco hooks, so like he had an amazing hook. So he was able to produce some of his patterns that he knew were going to be able to sell overseas, and then the next phase was to try to convince people here in the States that overseas flies were worth a darn. And again, like rewind back in time to the early 70s, like there was zero confidence in producing flies like we see in any fly bin today. Like they were literal garbage. The hooks were bad, the materials were bad. Like they weren't the same kind of materials that we're used to tying here in the States on. Like, so it was like getting them all of the right kind of tools, training them how to do it, and then like proving to people back here that this was the right kind of fly. And then how do you associate a name with that? So like Dennis had to go, and he went to Dave Whitlock first and was like, Dave, dude, like you are one of the names in the industry. Like we're good buddies. I want to offer you a royalty for your flies, and I want to distribute them. And Dave's like, dude, how are you going to tie that many of my flies? He's like, I'm not tying them. These flies are going to be tied overseas. And Dave's like, dude, no, absolutely not. Like my name will not be put next to an overseas piece of garbage. What if I were to prove you differently? Was like his counter argument. Laid out a bunch of flies that were tied overseas and said, this is the kind of fly we're going to be selling with your name on it. And it whipped Dave's head around, and he said, yeah, I'm in. And from that point forward, Dennis started gathering more people in the mix, and like big names, Lefty Cray, Mike Lawson, Randall Kaufman. Flies that are all still in the Umpqua catalog to this day, still fished in most every angler's box. And it's growing from there, and we're at 240 signature tires at the moment. We've got a ton locally here in Colorado, and we've got international folks. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I always say the modern history of fly fishing is within the pages of the Umpqua catalog. As you flip through this, like, you have the modern history of fly fishing told through flies, which I think is really, really interesting. Like, if Umpqua hadn't brought the stimulator out, how many flies would not have been created by other tires that were inspired by? And you could point down the list at a lot of different kind of like token patterns that were brought to the market from signature tires through Umpqua. And I think that's a really cool story. It's very unique to us. And it's because we've been doing it for 50 years that you have so many of those type of examples like a stimulator, right? So yeah, that's like a quick rundown of some of that old story and how the signature tire started.
Yeah, amazing. There's so much history.
Sensing a want of a cut over there.
Oh yeah, no, y'all are good. No, that was a good bite there.